Okay, great. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks to people who are in the room. Thank you very much, and congratulations on finding the room at UCL. It is like a maze. You people online have no idea how lucky you are that you're just sat in front of your computer. It's very difficult to find the rooms here. So well done, people who are here. And of course, people online, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really, really delighted that you're here with us on this workshop, which is focused on performing warnings. So it's a co-creational workshop, and we hope it's going to be the first of many. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of introduce and set the scene of the workshop before I hand over to our expert guides who are going to take us through the event this afternoon. And so I just wanted to highlight really that the Warning Research Centre is a fairly new organisation. We've been around for about a year now, and we are globally unique in the sense that we are focusing on how we can enhance warnings for both natural hazards and human-made threats as well. And we have around 30 core members of experts at UCL and 30 affiliates from around the world who are global experts. And we really are focused on trying to make a community that is interested and focused on how we can enhance warnings, provide expertise, educational materials, policy advice, public engagement, creative work, and really help put warnings on the agenda. So that's really our ambition. And we're working with a few partners already, including the Anticipation Hub and the Risk Informed Early Action Partnership. And we also work a lot with CUOM, Dr. Zafka, we've got representatives here, and also DEFRA as well here in the UK. So please do check out our website, our social media. We've got a whole lineup of events coming up over the next year. So we hope to see you at future events. But what I wanted to do is really get into today's event. We are looking at performing warnings. Now, warnings are can be performed in different ways. You can see an image here of the Boxing Day tsunami in the Indian Ocean in 2004. And of course, this is the kind of performance of a warning that is not a desirable one, which is we see the event, the hazard playing out in front of us, and the warning is not enough time for us to respond. Okay, so this is not really an effective warning when it's actually going to impact us. So, you know, what this workshop is about is thinking about how can we make warnings better to engage with people much further before the event happens, so that people are more resilient and they can work on building their understanding, their preparedness, and be part of that system in terms of understanding the hazard and what they can do. So empowerment, essentially. Now, warnings are sort of all around us, and typically when we talk about warnings, you know, the thought are sirens, or we might think of our car warnings that come out usually at the most annoying time, or like, you know, corrosive materials, or even a hazard that we might be familiar with on a fairly regular basis. But warnings also take different shapes. You know, they can be biblical, religious stories, they can be folklore, or they could be Aesop's fables, for example. All of these have elements of warnings about them. And of course, we have here the lighthouse, which is a warning for ships, of course, so that's not really something we would think of a warning, but it is. And sometimes we have warnings around us all the time, to the point that we're completely oblivious of them. Things like fire drills, crossing a traffic light, things we use every single day. So what is a warning? Well, this is a really good question, and we could have a whole session on what is a warning, but essentially it's a really instant way of us trying to communicate the importance or relevance of some new piece of information. And warnings usually trigger that communication that enables decisions and discussions to happen. And warnings typically have a framework in order to make that happen. And to make that happen, it's not just, you know, we create a siren through a megaphone. We actually need to have plans, responses, education, outreach, and have everyone communicating with one another. And I've put there what the definition is for the United Nations warning system, which is a really good definition, which talks about bringing all the scientific elements of monitoring, forecasting, and prediction, and then all the elements of, you know, the different stakeholders, individuals, communities, governments, businesses, and then of course the important aspect of taking timely action. Now, warnings don't just sit on their own. They're not just a tool or an instrument. They are shaped by politics and the different shapings of different governments and approaches to risk and communication, and the dynamics that exist within a government or the governance structures and its population. Equally, cultures shape people's understandings of warnings. We can see here from the Maori, folklores of natural hazards, including volcanoes, is tied into their folklore, their stories. Here we can see the volcanoes near Ruapehu behind there, and Tongariro, the Tongariro crossing. And here there's this very strong tradition that, one does not build one's villages near an active volcano, that you keep away. So it's bedded into the culture on how to keep safe. It's that long-term warning. So what we want to do today is explore how can we perform warnings? How can we use the skill of performative and artistic skills and tools to examine a topic that's actually quite difficult to grasp, and something that the world is actually very much focused on following the United Nations Secretary General's call earlier this year to create warnings for all, where in 5 years, everybody in the world should be protected by warning systems for hydrometeorological hazards and climate risks. As to what is meant by warnings and for all, that's a whole different debate. But what we want to do today is explore how to communicate risk and uncertainty in warnings, examine the performative role of warnings, and how we can better devise warnings to enhance communication. So we want to today integrate unconventional creativity and co-creational talents to address some of these questions. We want to think out of the box, sorry to use the cliche. And at the end of it, what we really want to do is we hope that we'll all come together in terms of having some ideas about what we could potentially do in far more depth going forward that we think will have a real world impact. And finally, I just wanted to very quickly give some examples of performing warnings. So recently you may have seen Don't Look Up on Netflix. Has anyone seen it? Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you really must see it. It's a brilliant film about warnings. And I hope I'm not spoiling the plot for those of you that haven't seen it, but it's all about how people don't listen to warnings, okay? So that's a really important thing of understanding, how does a warning play out? What is the sort of narrative that comes out of a warning? This is a project I worked with a designer, Nelly Ben Huyen, called The Other Volcano. And the idea here was, how would you feel if you had a volcano in your living room, and what happened if it exploded randomly? And this is actually made with gunpowder, so that's what it looks like when it explodes, and that's the actual gunpowder inside by the technician there. So at London Design Week, we had this exhibited, and lots of people kept coming up to me and saying, Carina, when is it going to erupt? Because I want to go and see my friend's exhibition that's starting in 10 minutes. And I was like, I don't know, it's nature, it's different. And so it really actually helped to illustrate the unpredictability, the danger, the awe, the fascination of these types of hazards. The final example I want to give you is just an opera that I worked on volcanoes. And here we got an improvisational opera company who work in terms of public engagement to talk about volcanoes and some of the hazards. And what we did was we brought in some of the art that we have here at UCL, and I gave mini stories about a couple of volcanoes, trying to bring some educational parts into it, and the opera singers then turned that into a song. And what was really interesting, and the reason I've kept this quote is because it's that kind of relinquishing the kind of control that we see, particularly in academic research, in terms of embracing the unknown and taking pleasure in finding out what happens as a result, is exactly what I hope we will achieve today. So I just wanted to give you just a 30-second odd clip of this opera, so you can just get a bit of a feel about what it's about. What was the volcano hazard? Well, the volcano hazard that actually got everyone isn't actually depicted in this picture. What it is actually the most deadliest force on Earth, and it's called pyroclastic flow. Now, pyroclastic flows really are the most deadliest force. In fact, I vividly remember my geology lecturer telling me about this, because he used to explain every geological principle using a cigarette packet. And he would basically, he said, look, and he was a bit of a northerner, so forgive me, I'm going to try and emulate his stuff as well. And he would say, right, guys, if you ever get caught up in a pyroclastic flow, light up a cigarette, sit down, and think about your life. And we were like, oh gosh, okay, fine. So, okay.
which we have not seen. Three of us will be experts. We will sing about it in probably contrasting styles before another so-called expert will elucidate the truth for you.
It's quite an enough.
Days of ancient Rome, when you went out from home, you often went to an orgy or a feast.
Amazing. Now this is actually a sea lily crinoid, so this is actually a fossil, a crinoid fossil. We still have about 600 species of crinoids. And I know you're thinking, okay, Carina, this is very interesting. How does this relate to volcanoes? Well, of course, it relates to volcanoes because it's about mass extinction events. So this event really was kind of about how can we perform warnings and share awareness around information. So what we would like to do is we are going to now hand over. I hope you've got a bit of a flavour of the performative element, got your creative juices going. And if, by all means, if anyone wants to break out into song or dance, either here or online, please put the video on if you're online so we can see. Please do feel free. So our artists today, we're so blessed to have so many artists in the room. We've got Pablo Suarez, who's going to be our main guide for the day. We've got Hameed Khan and Eugenia Rojo in the corner there, who are amazing artists. Nico Castellini, who is the musician, yes, right in front of me. Hello, thank you very much for coming. And Daniel Stevens from Good Games, who's online. So we have a real treat for you lined up today, a really fun agenda. There are refreshments on the side for those of you in person, so please do take some refreshments if you need. We hope you enjoy today. Please, for those people online, could you fill out the consent form online? And here we have a piece of paper for you to sign in terms of us being able to use this footage, which, you know, the break time might be a good time to do that and get a few tea stains on that picture. I shall pass over to Pablo. Thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy today.
Thank you, Carina. Which button I have to push to advance? Because I saw that there were...
Yes, there we go. The arrows are now working.
Arrows, good. So you can hear in the room that there's some technological development going on, making sound, and I trust we're safe. For those of you joining from the distance, there are multiple ways in which you're lucky today. One is that you didn't have to struggle to find. Two is that you don't have this presence of the vibration of the guts of the entire building with you. But I love that we have this derailment because always we're going to be derailed relative to what we hope. And nothing is more so than when we think that nature will be naturally loving of us, and then it may flip into treating us badly. So you see a slide, you heard Carina. Thank you so much, Carina, and the UCL Warning Research Center team for making this happen. I have several affiliations. The two that I bring here are my Red Cross, Red Crescent Climate Center hat. I'm innovation lead. I help people understand, anticipate, and address what can go wrong, mostly with climate-related issues. And I also recently joined the Cambridge University Center for the Study of Existential Risk, originally founded to look at the things that could entirely wipe out humanity, you know, asteroid impact, nuclear annihilation. And now we're looking into sweeter things like only killing 10% of all humanity. I have to tell you that this session will be experimentally and participatorily hybrid, which means that we're not going to be treating you distant friends as second-class citizens who shut up and maybe listen if you're not changing diapers. We're going, to the extent possible, to have you be fully engaged part of what emerges, and we want to see what comes out from you, just like from those here. Now, I have a very selfish request. One is that for those here, you're going to have to join forces with those online by being able, if you have a device, to log on a certain website. If you can do it without Wi-Fi, that's fine. If you need Wi-Fi, UCL guest, and then you have to create an account and make the password that won't work until you add an exclamation point and so on. I should put the mic on. And let's see if this makes things better. I see red lights, now I see green lights. Is that helping? So I will say that I'm speaking loud and hopefully those from afar can hear me. If you can't, can they hear me?
Just waiting for feedback.
Okay.
Better now. Yes.
Better now.
Sorry, not feedback.
Right, I have feedback from the room. Exactly, ambiguity is one of our troubles. You're in charge of an early warning system. You communicate, for example, through colors. I was in Zimbabwe working with farmers. Yellow means alert to us. We shared a warning about likely El Nino drought conditions, yellow. They don't have that code in the village I was working with. They saw yellow flowers bloom and they said, oh, Pablo told us yellow means danger. Ambiguity is part of what we do and how. The second thing I'm going to ask is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chairs here, 3, 6, 7 people there. Can you all migrate to this side of the room and when you bring a chair so that I have to look at only one part of the room, which is simpler. So log on the website and sit with others and keep the chairs irregular because you'll constantly be forming groups of 2 or 3 or 4. So don't form rows, that's ugly. Good, moving on. Yes. I'll give you the website later. I just want you to be online now so that when I give you the website, you know. Yes. The mobile device is okay. If you have a laptop, you'll see the word clouds bigger, but a mobile device is okay. Good. So we're going to start very soon with our first playful activity. Our first playful activity involves what we think and what we think that other people think. In this cartoon by Bob Mankoff, I think it depicts intelligently that you may be mistaken about what you think that other people are thinking. Maybe you think they're having deep, thoughtful thoughts about early warnings, and the volcano is rumbling, and they're instead thinking about something else. So we're going to play the game, I Think We Think. And to play that game, both online and on-site, everyone will do the same thing. Activate your QR codes or bit.ly/performing warnings. And you should go to something that looks blue and inviting. Daniel, in the room, we have, I don't know, 20-ish people. So I'll let you be the judge of when to advance to the next screen, which I'm going to put here. So let's go into the game, Daniel, if you're feeling so inclined. Some people will be slower than others. Like in the real world, when you issue a warning that, you know, a tornado is coming. I'm sorry? Oh, yes. The website is bit.ly/performing warnings, one word.
And I put that in the chat for our friends on Zoom.
Thank you so much. So, wishing you success. If you feel that you didn't log in or something, it's okay. You can still enjoy this as a spectator, like so many spectator sports, and then you'll have time to join soon thereafter. So, I'm going to advance. Bit.ly performing warnings if needed for those in the room. This is one of those instances where those joining from home have a faster, better time. There we go. First thing, type your name or some kind of nickname or whatever you want. If you haven't done so already, that's to acknowledge your awesomeness if you end up being the winner. We will not use your data and all that stuff. So first thing, what thoughts, what comes to mind when thinking of Performing Warnings, a co-creation workshop? You're here because somehow the title Performing Warnings, a co-creation workshop was attractive to you somehow. So the first word that comes to mind, anything you want except performing or warnings or creation or workshop. Any word that comes to mind, write it in the first line. And then there must be some other word that comes to mind. And then maybe the third one. Ideally one word. If it were about animals, you could say lion or dog. you could write Black Panther, which is 2 words making one concept of one animal. I'm hoping you're typing. I'm going to give you 20 seconds or less. What do you think of? And take it seriously, yeah? Performing warnings, a co-creation. You could say something like Carina said, something different. Let's give you 15 seconds or less. You know what? Let's put pressure. Daniel, let's start the countdown. And you have about 10 seconds. What do you think of? Come up with your thoughts. And 3, 2, 1, time is up. And if you couldn't, it's okay. It's not the end of the world yet. Moving on to the next slide. Now, there's other humans in this session, some in person, some online. They showed up because they have some interest in this topic. What do you think they are thinking? If you think they thought the exact same 3 words, you write the exact same 3 words. If you're thinking they wrote some other words, you can write those other words. Here's the trick. For every time that someone else wrote a word you're guessing, you get a point. If no one wrote that word, you get 0 points. If 10 people wrote that word, you get 10 points. And you're trying to get as many points as possible, trying to guess them. Importantly, if you write them from the most popular in number 1 to the least popular in number 3, you get 5 bonus points. So what do you think they are thinking about? Right? What do you think they're thinking about when thinking of performing warnings? A co-creation workshop. As mentioned before, you cannot write performing or warnings or creation or workshop. And you're thinking, you're writing, let's give you less than 30 seconds. It's stressful, right? Your heartbeat and your mind are confused and they're somewhat pissed because I'm not speaking clearly enough, because the website, you couldn't log in, the Wi-Fi, the UCL. Guess what? Like the real world, we have so many events that are about dangers and we make people feel safe. Here you're not safe. We told you it was experimental. So Daniel, we can start the countdown at your convenience. 10 seconds to go. What do you think people are thinking when thinking about this topic? Will you guess right? Will you get many points or not? Time's up. We advance to the next slide and each of you is going to see how many points you got. That is assuming the website tells us the right thing. Oh, there was a problem when trying to get this data. Daniel, if you think there's a problem, we could advance straight to the word cloud. There we go. Interesting. Look at this. What you really thought was interesting, risk, fun. Fun, you thought. When the guess is, yes, some people thought fun, but not that much. Art was about equally prominent, but a lot of you thought risk, and almost none of you thought that other people were thinking about risk. In your guesses, you put art quite prominent, interesting, creativity, fun, games. Where's the risk? This is about warnings. It's there. Okay, okay, yeah, you beat me, but notice how much smaller, right? And if you row over the words, you can see actually how many people wrote, how many people guessed. So now, if things work as I wish, and this we will compile the image files and share and so on. Daniel, can we move to the next one? And if yes, Lara. Yes. Ta-da! Congratulations, you really guessed a lot. Adeline, are you in this room? So Adeline must be one of our Zoom friends who guessed a lot. Congratulations. You outperformed almost everyone else. Now I have to tell you, Lara, one reason why maybe she won is that we played this game hosted by her in Cambridge University. And so she saw what people are likely to think. Exactly. Like in the real world, if you do something, you know, I like my friends from Cambridge University to like showing up at our events. So congratulations. And now we know. Now we know some stuff about what we think other people think, and what other people really think. Whew. Can you feel your heartbeat? Do you know that when the heartbeat is faster, there's more blood in your brain? Did you notice how so often when we do events that don't make your heartbeat exist, it's because there's no blood going to your brain, because your brain is bored. Because there's nothing going on other than shutting up and maybe listening. We can and should do better. So, moving on. You recognize this lady? She just said to you, hello and welcome. And I don't know if we can close that little crossy thing. Is that something on me there? Because I want you to notice that this is what she showed about the volcano, the red, the green, the yellow, yeah? So on Wednesday at Lara's event, evening in the pub, I learned about that hat and I said, can you share a photo? She did, and I sent the photo to our friends Ham and Eugenia. I said, look, someone did a hat. It looks a little bit rustic. Do you have any thoughts? So Ham and Eugenia, would you like to come and perform our first performance of the day? All right. Thank you very much. That took them a few hours to create and make. It was delivered on the Thursday with a bunch of experts and so on. And everyone had a moment of bonding because an idea became a different idea, it became a reality. And now that hat exists. And if you don't know it, the scream from the painting from Munch was actually a painting that resulted from a volcanic eruption. And I can maybe explain that later. Thank you, Carina, also for the inspiration. Yes. So moving on. Here's the volcanic eruption. There are three main ways in which a volcanic eruption can harm humans. One is like in Hawaii, lava, molten rock, orange, beautiful, gooey thing comes out and then begins coming down. And if you're there, you're toast. Like literally a little bit too hot for comfort. Those are easy to see when the lava is coming. You can usually outrun the lava if you know it's coming and so on. If you're sleeping and the lava comes to your home, maybe not. Another kind is the kind that we heard from the video earlier, which is boom, and the stuff that goes up, ash, rocks, it goes up. What happens after it goes up? Comes down. And when it comes down, it can be next door. It can be Pompeii, tens of kilometers away. And you could have 2 meters, like really, it's not just your water, your crops, it's all of you. The really, really big ones, according to geological records, could spew like 30 centimeters of ash 1,000 kilometers away. Like this can be a lot coming from underneath. There's a third kind of volcanic eruption that can harm us, which is that one, but really in overdrive. And it goes boom, really big. And it spews stuff so high that it gets to above where planes fly, to the stratosphere. And when that happens, strange things happen. Let's admit to Shar. Thank you. I would like to no longer see all the things that you're telling me. And sulfur dioxide, the smell of sulfur, the smell of hell. It's because down there there's sulfur, goes up. It mixes with water vapor and with ozone in the atmosphere. It creates this thing, little tiny, tiny droplets of basically sulfuric acid. So tiny that they stay up there. It takes them a year or two to fall from the upper atmosphere. And the wind pushes them around throughout the planet. And before they fall, sunlight comes in, bounces, little droplet goes away instead of coming to hit your head or my swimming pool or whatever. I don't have a swimming pool, one day maybe, but I don't know. And what happens? The planet goes down. A little bit or a lot, depending on how much of that happens. Okay, if this is going to happen a lot, yeah, thank you. And then I want to show you this. Do you recognize what this is about? For those, we have Arthur here, heavily involved in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This is the most typical graph we associate with climate change. In the past, we had a certain amount of carbon dioxide and methane and stuff in the atmosphere. Then we started sucking it from the ground, pumping it up by burning, etc. It's been getting warmer. And then depending on what we do, it's going to get much, much warmer or somewhat much warmer. This is bad. So we're talking about now. I'm talking about volcanoes. This is bad. But did you notice this thing is? This, 1991, volcanic eruption, droplets blocking sunlight, whoop, a little colder. Catches up after a year or two. This, El Chichon, 1980. Another eruption. The next one Could be like those ones, or could be much bigger if it feels much more. So my team is doing stuff to try to get ready for what may come. And some of us in the Red Cross and Climate Center and friends like Caroline from the British Red Cross are trying to propose this thing, forecast-based financing. I came up with those words. I wish I had a poet or a songwriter working with me, because those are words that put everyone to sleep. And if you don't fall asleep yet, we have some equations for you. Yeah, if the probability of the loss and the cost of the intervention is more than, and then you're bored and tired. But if you do the math, you figure out which are the actions that are worth taking before a disaster, after science says that the extreme event is likely, and it becomes a disaster if people are in harm's way. So I'm going to walk you through an activity that tries to combine this stuff and this stuff in about 15 minutes. I'm going to make you work. Friends online, you're going to be working as well. Use the chat if you cannot talk to each other, which I think is the case for now. So what it says there somewhere is game time movie sound design. You remember look up another Hollywood movie, don't look up, sorry. Other Hollywood movies have a person who is in charge of designing the experience of sound in the movie. They're going to be humans speaking. There's going to be a musical background. There's going to be the sound of steps. There's going to be the door opening or closing. There's going to be special effects. There's going to be the sound of outer space if you're in 2001, the movie, etc. So your job, you're no longer who you think you are. You're now a sound designer for Hollywood. And you have to come up with the sound for a movie that I will show you 5 drawings of, what we call the storyboard. I will illustrate with my own awesome talents of sound design. This is one potential storyline. There's a cloud, then there's a warning, then there's too much. What's the sound of this? Well, it could be a romantic comedy with teenagers, or it could be a science fiction thing happening in the near future, but it's a normal day. What's the sound of a normal day? Whatever you want. You're the sound designer. Make whatever you want. It's fine. It could be, yeah. Then this is the sound of a warning that a flood may happen because too much rain is expected by a scientist. What's the sound of that? Can I hear suggestions? The sound of a warning is nah, nah, and like we heard before from Carina, nah, nah only means warning. If someone told you nah, nah means warning. Otherwise, maybe that someone got a cable in the wrong place in the speaker for the disco, right? And then what's the sound of too much rain causing flooding? Yeah, you eat for Hollywood, you're a little bit too shy. Let's come up with more. Friends online, feel free to type either the words or the description of the special effect or the onomatopoeic brew or etc. What's the sound of this? Ah, human screaming, help, etc. And again, you're being way too shy. I want you, you're in a job application. Yeah, if you do, no, I want to hear the suffering. I want the audience to be, oh no, that poor mother. And what's the sound of this? Oh, yeah, there's some action going on, and the sound of money. Someone said, holy smoke, there was a disaster, people are suffering, I'm gonna go help those who didn't die yet. Because if they're about to die because they're homeless, need shelter, or hungry, need food, then we, Red Cross, governments, UN, and others can try to help. And that's expensive. That's expensive, and you need a plan. What do people experience when there's a flood? How can we help? Where is there an elevated ground for putting the shelter? Okay, next one, I'm also going to tell you the story. There is no way to hide that bar, right? It's annoying because every time I have a title, there's a bar on the top. So the default scenario is this story. I'll let you spend a moment looking at it and trying to make sense of it. Friends online, you're just like people here. You're seeing the screen and you have no idea what's going on. And if it cannot be done, no problem. But if it's doable. So let's come over here. What's going on here? Yay, thank you. What's going on here? A volcanic eruption. What's the sound of a volcanic eruption? Right, it's a really big one, okay? Really big one. This shows that we know that in the upper atmosphere, in the stratosphere, there are little particles of something that I just told you bounces off sunlight. The sound of that, I mean, these particles don't make sound, but the observation of them are by satellite. So it could be sound of Sputnik, or it could be, hey, NASA here, just to let you know that the concentration of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere seems to be exceeding sound of technology, whatever. What's this?
Waiting.
People are just doing nothing. Snoring, typing the keyboard. Hey, did you get the coffee today? I don't like the new brand. Yes. The sound of time passing without much happening. Thank you, contributors from the distance. Now, this is, I told you, sunlight that was going to come to Earth goes away. It's much colder. When it's colder, the crop doesn't germinate or become full of food. And what's the sound of that? I don't know, something. People hungry. Yeah. And then people need help. And then again, we need to, if you wanted words for that, here are some words, I think. Am I going to push the button? Oh, I'm sure that something happened that, can you help me, Carina, make sense of this?
Try this one as well.
Yeah, that's much better. Eruption, umbrella of sulfur, sulfur blocks sun, planet will cool down depending on how much and how high and what that latitude and so on. It takes roughly 1 or 2 years for those particles to come down. And it takes at least half a year for the cumulative effect of all those little sunlight beams to not be received. And it's not like the day after the volcano, it's half a degree colder. Probably 6 to 9 months later, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees colder. You do nothing, no awareness of what would be done, or the awareness but no action, as is often the case. Extreme events, very often severe cold and drought. In some places, no rain. In some places, more rain. It depends because the atmosphere is a complicated thing. The intertropical convergence zone, if you know about it, ITCZ can be your friend unless it's not. Global impacts, people in need, response too little too late. This is what I know, me, Pablo Red Cross, with certainty that will happen next time there is one. And it's not maybe if, no, it's when. It's like an earthquake in California. It may not happen now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in my lifetime, but it would be stupid to assume that it won't ever happen. This is the same, because it has happened in the geological record, it has happened in our lifetimes, and the next one could be big. This is your job. Self-organized groups of about 3 or 4 come up with sounds. You cannot describe the sound, you have to make the sound. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes or less. Friends online, type in the chat, what sound would you recommend for each of those? I'm particularly interested in image number 2 and image number 3. Self-organized, talk, make sounds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop and silence, please. Look at you. Half of you are like this. You have a moment of expectation. What's going to happen? What am I going to do? What the hell is going to be the next thing? You are a little bit confused, a little bit excited, a little bit surprised. By design, we make things like this event happen so that you find yourself a lot of the time just in the tolerable edge of confusion, where we know the best learning happens. So thanks for coexisting with the madness. Friends online, are you back? Yes. Friends online, what's the sound of the first one? Can you speak out into the microphone? Thank you. Thank you. And that could have been from the very distance, or it could be even more amplified or echo. There are many ways to make a big sound. Friends from this group, what's the sound of this? I told you. So they're trying to combine a semblance of warning with the sound of the, I warn you it's going to get cold. If I played that to a teenager in Bristol, what would happen? Probably they're thinking that these two people are having a good time while doing something strange. We know that these warnings are likely to work only if people know what you mean. I think it's a very good idea. Does anyone have an idea of a different sound? Let's hear over here.
Yeah, you're the first one. Yeah, first one.
First one?
This one.
Yeah, like, hi, I'm Ivy. This is BBC News. We have an emergency stuff that the global will be very cold because of volcano and thanks for watching.
Exactly. So both need to coexist, because the BBC will never learn if they didn't do that. Indeed, at our workshop convened by Lara and team last week, we had BBC Media as one of the participants, and Reuters, and The Economist, because we need them to know that it may happen. We need them to have ideas of what to say before it happens. You know, they have a certain prominent figure recently passed, and people did not wait until the passing to begin writing the obituary. If you know something extreme may happen, you want to prepare yourself. So thank you. And there may be many, many more. How do we help the subsistence farmer in Burkina Faso know that her crops may fail? What's the sound of this one? Team over there.
Ka-ching.
Thank you. The sound of money is good. What else?
Well, we had a ka-ching and we also had a.
Right, it's like the sound of, right, exactly. And you may also want to have like trumpets, like call to action. Because if you know that a volcanic eruption is known to in the future cause trouble, you need to jump into action, but you need some money, which needs to come from somewhere. Chances are my team doesn't have that money now, and we need it from somewhere. And we need to know what the plan is, and it's not a plan for when people are already starving. It's a plan for the warning before people starve. That's what we need. What do you do with a little clicking thing here? And then, if you did the right thing, the number of people suffering are fewer, and or the amount of money you need to help them is less. That's what I'm going to invite you to help us for real. We're going to spend until about 5 p.m. UK time doing things that help come up with ideas, so that the BBC lady says, oh yeah, I remember that thing. I once saw a crazy hat that had an eruption that had the screen by Munch. It's more memorable than my journal article. What am I doing here? Okay, it somehow must have irritated the deities. Carina, maybe you can help me. Okay, I defer to your authority, dear technology. So I am going to take you to the next slide, and of course it would help me to see it because I can't remember exactly. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Is there something I need to do differently? Otherwise, I will. Yeah, perfect. Now we know it works.
Yeah, hopefully that works.
So that was the text I had written to guide. Eruption, an umbrella of sulfur. The early warning needs to have texture. In some places it's going to be colder. In others it may be the same. In some places this, that, and then trigger the plans that you need to have from before. You cannot begin to plan when the eruption happens. When the eruption happens, it's so big that if it happens in Indonesia, a lot of Indonesia is in trouble, and my teammates have to be working on the people who are now in trouble, not making a plan for the others, and etc. This, my friends, is a photo of Mount Pinatubo's eruption 1991. The last until the Tonga this past year, to have so much gunk in the upper atmosphere, 5 teragrams or so, if I remember correctly, that's a lot. It's tons of tons, go so high that it spread around and it caused measurable cooling in the planet, as you saw in that IPCC graph, and observable relocation of winds and monsoon rains and trouble. And if you see that, it's not fun. I haven't seen it. These are the models from the scientists of the anomalies. You see a lot of sub-Saharan Africa going drier, a lot of places with a lot of people going drier, some places over there drier, some small islands wetter. And if you look at the pattern after Krakatau, 2 centuries ago, it's way more so. Caribbean, look at that. I'm working in Togo. That's trouble. What will the next one be like, and what impacts will it have? Well, I don't know. What about the next very big one? Which, according to numbers, Lara, can you remind us the probability of a big one before the end of this century?
1 in 6.
For those friends who didn't hear it, our resident volcano causes trouble in the planet colleague here, Lara Mani, who just got a piece published in Nature and a lot of media attention, reports that the probability of a big one happening in the rest of the century is 1 in 6. Roll of a die, and depending on what comes out, it's trouble. And many of us may be alive by then. Not me, I think, unless technology helps me, but. So this is an email I sent right after the eruption of in Tonga less than a year ago, which was a big boom. And satellites showed the shockwave, and Tonga was completely out of communication. And I knew that there was gunk going up, and it was falling through. I was trying to say, what is going on? How much impact can we expect? What do we know? Urgent! People who know stuff. Potential climate impact from Tonga eruption. Please, can my Red Cross engage with your stuff so that I know what my teams should do? Because now is the time to go to the BBC. If I wait a week, people are not going to give a damn about the volcano. They're going to be following the Oscars or something. And I said, oh, explosive eruptions that may impact climate conditions around the world, it matters to us humanitarians. This means I have to be about to wrap this slide now. And I read in Twitter space and elsewhere, maybe enough sulfur dioxide to notice the error. This was supposed to be a 2, but the caps was still pushed. So if someone says SO at and doesn't know what they're doing, this is an error in the Twitter world that will be, oh, that person says, no, SO2, sulfur dioxide, which becomes sulfuric acid droplet, could impact the climate. Stay tuned, says someone. And I'm like, where do I stay tuned? And there was nowhere for me to go to keep, maybe it exists, but I never heard of it. And I have been sending every time there's an eruption, hello, where can I look? And people are like, yeah, we're working on it, but I'm a scientist. I'm not an early warning person, says big expert who helps me. If anything major, can you please let us know as soon as possible? Here's my phone number. And if it's not that big, then can we work together to get ready, disaster preparedness measures ready before? Last week was the first event where we had, people from the UN system, people from the European Commission with donor money for the humanitarian office, etc., experts, etc., working together. We don't have the system, but we're beginning this. Now I'm going to make you work. Sorry.
Did they reply?
To that email, some answers came a little late and insufficient. I mostly happened to get answers earlier, except for the people I called and they answered, including some of those who are friends. But they don't have the mandate or the authority or the knowledge. We need a system that does it. And maybe you can help us. I know you can. So what we're going to do now is to send you into a gallery, like an art gallery, where the artworks are cartoons. Cartoons created by these two folks last week. Based on the real-time conversation, they were listening and making cartoons. They happened to be in Argentina that week. Now they're here, we're very fortunate. This is one, it's not humorous. It's not intended to make you laugh, but it's a visual depiction of what could happen when the next big one. Of course, this is completely out of proportion and the stratosphere relative to the diameter of the Earth, but it tells a story. This is what they came up with when listening to the experts talking about the scenarios. And they could notice that my colleagues, the humanitarians, were approaching this status. And if you have questions, there are answers. Only go get a PhD in how volcanic eruptions affect the climate. And I see the extra smile of Arthur because he's working on this interface, including with spiritual leaders. We are preparing for the next one by ignoring it. When I tell people what are we going to do, yeah, don't get out of my life, I have too much trouble. Right? We could run, that's a good measure. Some people may have what it takes to run. Speaking of don't look up. Oh dear, I think they're still using COVID first responders. I'm certain there will be scarcity of toilet paper, but it's not the most important concern. And maybe you think an umbrella can protect you. Maybe you need to learn more. It seemed like a good idea at the time. We do say a lot of that when the extreme event is a little harder than we were prepared for. Is it a good time to go get insurance against volcanic eruptions that put you under? Well, no, you're not going to get it. Aid is on its way. This is the story of our lives. We always arrive too late when we're not ready. Thank you, Carina and team, for helping people get ready, but we need to do more. Look at the upside of large magnitude volcanic eruptions. The snowman is back. Thank you for helping us end with a touch of humor. Now, you will be able to see each of these 12 in that order. I'm going to invite you to go to the same website that you were before. Don't close that browser window because now Daniel is going to advance us to the gallery. And then your job is to check out those 12 cartoons. And if any of them resonates with you, scroll down and there's a text window where you can annotate, write something about that cartoon that pertains to the reason that brings us together here. Performing warnings. 3, 2, 1, and stop. Daniel, if you can advance us straight to the, oh, look at that, 20 comments, 5, that's brilliant. If you want to advance us all the way to the report, please. Here is where we'll have a chance to go to the back end and delete any submissions that may be out of place, maybe racist, etc. This digital tool is really helping us harvest. So, Ashbelt, planetary defense, the fact that, someone saying it's a little bit too out of scale for me. Scientists will often behave in this way, and maybe if we did as they wanted, other people say, yeah, I don't get that scale. And that's a lot of fine tuning. I could work with the artist to have 7 different versions. And that's why we use this gallery to harvest feedback. These are all draft cartoons, and we're still wondering if we can take them to final form. Let me scroll down a little bit. Oh, there's so many, too close to the bone. We really don't want you to understand. Yeah. Even volcanologists are unclear. Who is we exactly? Some are not putting their head down. Do we want to run? And then the next panel could be, whatever. Yeah. One rule for them, another for us. Demand-driven response. Fame was everything, right? You want your 5 minutes of fame? Not all aid is helpful aid. Indeed, donations of umbrellas could cause trouble. What can insurance not replace? Indeed, we're working with many teams on these issues. The saviors are coming, say many people who then notice that the saviors didn't come as they reach the doors of hell or heaven. Okay, moving on. Was this where we were? Yes. It's amazing, we're on time. I like this. So, you contributed to the gallery. We shall share all of these things with Carina and team when they're done. Now we're going to be creating ideas for the world to be maybe a little bit more prepared about this business of volcanic eruptions that are so big that they throw so much gunk up there that they block sunlight and change the climate. And we can do something because you have 6 to 9 months between the eruption and the consequences. There's a lot of time to turn that early warning into an early action. So we're going to ask you to provide seeds of creativity, the name of a painting, the name of a song, a kind of thing that happens in sport, whatever you want, and then that will be germinated. But let me give you some ideas of examples of what we have done in the past. This is how we normally talk about risk, whether it's in the UN Climate Conference or at a village that just got 400 people killed in the floodplain, like here in my first trip to southern Mozambique. I'm the fellow in the pink shirt. You see Chief Fabiao Tonga, the local authority, talking to the men who are sitting on benches while the ladies are sitting on the ground. Power dynamics everywhere, including in your early warnings. Those trees save lives. The floodplain is 10 kilometers wide. And when the flood was coming, after people did not receive or did not understand or did not trust the warning, some saved their lives by climbing. Now, this is a recipe for disaster because the chief speaks to them. So these people are thinking how pissed they are about the chief not letting them. Me speaking with a translator, successfully putting people to sleep by talking science, the translator misunderstanding half of what I say, them getting utterly confused. So we have to come up with different ways of doing this.
The next one comment online.
Yes. Would you like to read? I don't have my glasses.
I don't have the mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
I have my glasses.
Okay, give me the mic.
It's okay. There we go. Vanessa says, my comment was censored out. What? No, there is no ability to censor, Vanessa. So either there wasn't clicking the yellow button submit, or I didn't read it, or we didn't scroll down. There was no censoring in this session. But I think it was a fair comment. I'm going to read the comment. We don't know what it is, so I promise you there's no censorship. The vast majority of characters were men. Most of the images depicting women were when they were part of a traditional couple. I think we should strive for better female representation in the sciences. Yes, here are the artists. When they make revisions, they have heard you and will invite you to take that into consideration. Thank you. The fist is welcome. So this unidirectional approach may accomplish some things, but not everything. What we are doing now is to interact with professional people who are not experts in the hazard or in the humanitarian, but professional communicators of strange things. For example, game designers. The Parsons School for Design invited me to work with them to do games, and they came with us to the Zambezi River floodplain, and here's the local farmers playing a game about flood preparedness. And I won't give you the details, but they came up with drawings of what they could do, and then we roll some dice, and if the thing happens, they have to go and do it. Look at those muscles. Yeah, there's stuff going on. And look at those smiles. They're having a blast. This is performative warnings in action. And we know from neuroscience that the brains that are engaged and are having emotional richness because of a good time or sometimes the other side, it creates more lasting memories that are easier to retrieve. Very different context. I was in the White House. Someone says, hello and welcome, keynote speech, 130 people. I had a gigantic A for alien because I'm not an American citizen, but I was invited to speak after lunch. PowerPoint 1, 2, 3, 4, coffee break. Everyone's saying, hello, my name is so-and-so from organization this and that, and there's a big problem, photo of the person suffering, and then my organization tried to help, graph, map, maybe equation, photo of the farmer smiling. If you want to give us more money, here's my contact, thank you very much. Next presenter, same story. Another coffee break, next lunch break, then me. I knew people would be tired, and I said, hello, my name is Pablo from the Red Cross, and this is not a frisbee, it's a hurricane. If it hits you in the chest, you're all in trouble. Please stand up. Oops, I went too fast, there. And people were confused, some stood up. I were like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, stand up. And people did, and we play the game, throw some dice, throw the frisbee, hits you in the chest, doesn't hurt, but the metaphor does. Then they connected the early warning to the early action. They sat down, the frisbee flew above their heads, hits the wall of the White House. Everyone's like, yay, congratulations, says Pablo, the facilitator. You just turned an early warning into early action that saved lives. Now think Hurricane Katrina. 1,000 people killed in the richest country. We're working with Mozambique, Bangladesh, Vanuatu, Guatemala, and we're trying to help. Happy to talk if you want. 7 minutes. And conversations happened. Here we have our two dear friends. AJ, I haven't had you in my lifetime. May I? We have worked together and haven't never met. So good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Look, we just met. Look at us. Sorry for derailment. I felt guilty that he was here. Okay. So this is thermochromic art. Would you like to explain?
Yeah, sure.
Let me give you. Whoops.
Thank you. Thanks, Pablo. Yes, so Pablo and I have been working for the last year or so on a small project around urban heat waves, looking at arts-led methods and working with community groups to explore different ways of communicating risk. And one of the creative methods that emerged from this project, is working with thermochromic paint. It's a kind of pigment that changes color with temperature shift. So it's got an immediate kind of wow, magical wow factor that has meant people have been really engaged with us in conversation.
And tell us about that.
Yeah, so this was a mask that went to COP, I guess.
UN Climate Conference in Glasgow.
And it's just working with AJ, we came up with the slogan, inspire or expire. So when you are breathing through the mask, the heat of the breath reveals the message. Simple.
And the message, thank you. And the message is inspire or expire. There's humor, there's cleverness, there's inspiration in 3 words. Thank you, dear poets. We will need those skills very soon. So while I replug myself in a way that is reasonable, is the sound coming sufficiently okay? Thank you. So this is the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of the stellar places to see how art and culture happens in the planet. I had the fortune of befriending the curator or deputy curator of the wing for Pacific art. These giant 4-meter tall carving, sculptures. They are early warning systems. They're carved drums. There's a slit, it's carved inside. And when one island has reason to communicate with the other about a problem, boom, 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 boom. And it's so deep pitch that it travels above water across islands, and it helps. So in this room, our colleague gracefully invited us to join the premises 2 hours before the public had access to the museum. And we had about a third experts. Here's Andrew Kruksiewicz, atmospheric scientist, about a third us humanitarians, and about a third creators. 2 choreographers. Dance, as he knows, is not my favorite art form, but I understand that people like it. So here we're doing some kind of early warning dance while I snuck out with the excuse of taking a photo. Tall fellow, at the time, Zohar is his name, professional flash mob designer. Now, the curator happens to be part New Zealander, and in that working group where we had some experts, some creators, some humanitarians, they reminded of the haka, the dance that is best known for the All Blacks trying to intimidate the opponents. And they came up with the idea of a heat wave flash mob. A flash mob, for those of you who don't know, is a bunch of people storming into a place and doing something that captures the attention and the imagination, and then they go away, and then you're left with something. So the flash mob concept was polished. Zohar came to the next UN climate conference in Morocco, in Marrakesh. He and his partner trained Moroccan Red Crescent volunteers on how to come up with a dance that communicates heat wave warnings. Mind you, maximum temperature recorded in Marrakesh, 49.5. Hot. And they came up with a dance that disrupted my presentation. 300 people in the audience didn't know that I knew that as I was talking climate science, humanitarian, boom, music starts sounding, music that sounds like camels. And these people come in and it's, oh, it's so hot. It's so hot. And they walk all around the people who are in the video conference, and no one has a clue what's going on. And then they start to dance, which I'm not going to torture you with. But in essence, it was so hot, so hot. Drink water, seek shelter, help your neighbor. There's a neighbor here doing the dance, and rest, or something like that. Everyone learned the dance, everyone danced the dance, they wanted to replay. And then diplomats with neckties would bump into each other during the negotiations, and they would start doing the heat wave dance. And now you see around the world how much heat wave has become a risk, a threat, a living experience of a changing climate. In the event, there was a person from India who said, we need to do this in my country, can you please make it happen? Our dear colleague Rebecca said, sure. We found a way for her to help do what Zohar had done, but now it's the Red Cross doing it. They did a more Bollywood-esque version of the heat wave dance, which was taken to a market. That's the best photo I could get a hold of. In the market was the head of security of Delhi International Airport, said, bring that heat wave flash mob to the airport. And here's the Indian Red Cross volunteers doing the flash mob where passengers are. They also did it where workers take the suitcase that you put from the tarmac and put it on a plane. And guess what? Black tarmac, 40 degrees in the air, 49 degrees for the workers. Change of policies, mandatory rest, desired hydration, etc., first aid if needed. I have no doubt, don't have evidence, but I have no doubt that these flash mobs save lives. And I'm happy about it. This, my friends, may look a little strange. It's actually a working group like the one you're about to have, where people come up with ideas that we had in Cambridge University. Does it look like Cambridge University? Does it exude? Well, there's a working group talking about games. Here's Anders, here's Matteo Menapace, who is working with the pandemic game designer Matt Leacock. Here's another group talking about narratives and so on. And here's a group with my dear colleague Tilly, an aerial acrobat, a circus artist. And they came up with a performance where SJ, the philosopher that won the game that some of you know, who happens to be essentially blind, he and her he learned for the first time how to do this, of balancing, etc. And they did a performance about volcanic eruptions. I am blown away. I want more of that. And there's another performance that I could tell you about, but it's probably easier if I just invite the performers. Do you feel ready?
All right.
Oh, you know what? I should have given you this before you start your performance. Well, because otherwise people are you are going to be saying things, right?
I am going to be
So put this in somewhere. Good luck.
Okay.
Drum roll. Imagine
hear?
the celebration of the performance about to start.
You can hear that okay now? Is that okay there? Is that too close? All right, okay. It's said that the flutter of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can create a tornado in Texas. Oh, that's very nice. Like, it's nice to get an applause. You know, Act 1. Act 2. There is a type of volcanic eruption that can cause devastation to people, maybe even you, many thousands of miles away from the source. Act 3. This type of volcanic eruption shoots sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere, where it reacts with water molecules and ozone. We just added ozone. We didn't have that the first time around. Thank you, Pablo. To make aerosols, many tiny droplets of sulfuric acid that are spread around the stratosphere, where each bit blocks a bit of sunlight, and altogether they can have a very big effect. Act 4 only, okay. So the consequence of this is the lowering of the average global temperature, messing with the monsoons and creating drought and famine. Now, we know there are growing risks of complex crises created by the changing climate. We've talked about a type of volcanic eruption that can have enormous consequences very far from the source. But if we had an early warning system, it may be possible to jump into action, bringing help to those in need. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You want your microphone back?
All right, thank you.
Well,
all right,
my
bad. Good. So we will crowdsource your guidance on how to polish the narrative, how to make it more technically precise and not full of errors, as well as more charming. And then we're going to invite our friends, maybe Lara and or Carina, to provide voiceover so we can show that scientists and creators can work together to enhance how we communicate. Well, actually, if you don't mind my doing so, I'm going to reveal that the cable can go from within. There we go, something like that. Is that good enough? Thank you. And now the moment of elegance. There we go. Whoops. Of course, we knew it, didn't we? Thanks for your patience. Okay, imagine me trying to dance. So, before that, I want you to get to, where was I? Thank you for your patience. And it was here. In our first phase, we're going to ask you to generate ideas of a visual nature. It can be things like what you saw. There can be sound, there can be smell, there can be dancing and music, whatever you want, but it has to be predominantly visual, because some of you, maybe all of you in person, are going to be working with Eugenia and Hameed Khan to create cardboard theater, like you just saw. You're going to make it happen. So what we're going to do now is to take you again to the same website as you were. And forgive me that I don't think I have the URL, but if you don't have it already open, it's bit.ly/performing warnings. And if you go there, and if Daniel can kindly get us ready for that, we're going to harvest ideas for the co-creation of art. And the question will be, what art, paintings, dances, what culture, festivals, soccer, I don't know, anything, games, whatever comes to mind, what comes to mind? So Munch, the scream. You could type Munch, the scream, keep it just as the thing. And think of warning as a concept, alerting, informing of something bad, and or of volcanic eruptions, and or human suffering because of too little rain. Just the seed of ideas. It could be visual, it could have a lyrical component, but it has to be seen because it will be shown in cardboard form. So Daniel, we can advance. 8 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and stop. Smell installations, I like that. Mime, so much. Daniel, are you able to tell us how many submissions came in these 2 minutes?
74.
Yes, thank you for your 74 ideas. Now what we're going to do, first you're going to breathe. Okay. You contributed a lot of those 74 and others did. And now it's time to have those seeds, see if any of them can germinate. So Daniel will advance us to our next screen. And in the next screen, each of you will see a different random selection of, I don't know, 8 to 10 things that were submitted by others. For example, Noah's Ark. If it resonates with you, you could click on it. Or maybe you think of traffic lights. So I could click on traffic light and say, traffic lights with dude under ash. Okay, and is that a good idea? Most likely not, but it's my idea, and I sent it. And your job is to click on one that resonates. It will appear here, and you don't need to leave the text that was there. You can delete it and start from scratch. You saw what happened. Your job is to take the seed of an idea and build on it. You can even take it in an entirely different direction. You could, someone says folk music, and you could write punk rock, yeah, or a specific song. And if possible, say how it relates to. You cannot write too much, definitely shorter than a Twitter. Let's give you 4 minutes or so. And if you don't like what you see, you scroll down, and somewhere over there it should say next, please. 3, 2, 1, thank you. And come back to this. Daniel, if you want, advance to the lyrics co-creator. So now we're going to move on to another entirely different area of work. Those of you joining online, thank you for joining. You won't be able to be physically with us cutting cardboard and making volcanoes dance or cry because they're something in a soap opera. But you can still co-create, and we make something with what you do, as with what you do. We're going to be co-creating lyrics. This is an image from a performance that takes Hamlet's To Be or Not to Be. And we worked with Reggie Gibson, award-winning poet and literary performer and hip-hopper and so on, to turn Hamlet into to geoengineer or not to geoengineer, which is the same thing of blocking sunlight, only intentionally. And I won't go there because it's terrifying. But he's working with us on a range of events where we take people like you through the process of co-creating text that could become the lyrics to a song, text that could become a part of a poem, text that could become an epitaph, text that could become a graffiti. He refers to poetry as wordplay with purpose. So think of, I don't know, some song you like, some poem you like. What words come to mind? I think, should I stay or should I go? The Clash. That's should I stay or should I go? Look at that. It's rock and roll made of words. You don't need to sing or have that guitar to experience that. What else comes to your mind? You don't need to say it, but now we're going to prime your pump of creativity with things that Reggie does when he helps others create lyrics. And he says, just KISS as an acronym. Keep it so simple. You don't have to become a Nobel laureate in poetry or literature. Just what is significant to you? Is it your grandmother's flowers? Is it gender justice? Is it the fact that a little island is going under? I don't know, it's something meaningful to you. Build on that. You don't have to explain the verses. Should I stay or should I go? It clearly speaks of someone who doesn't know what to do. Can you craft words that are self-explanatory, so much so that a child could repeat it after listening to it? You could say the intertropical convergence zone will be affected next time sulfuric dioxide combines with water and oxygen to create sulfuric acid. But that's a very boring line in a poem, isn't it? But something easier, and that someone understands what kind of thing you're talking about. Can you create something like that? And he also invites, you can play, wordplay with purpose. It has to be embedded with purpose and meaning. It could be one sentence that ends with a word that matters to you, that is evocative, that is powerful, that is beautiful. And then something else that ends with a word that rhymes. Racism is a tree that has really deep roots. Anger and injustice are two of its roots. Or you could try to be even more condensed, which is usually better, and put the two rhyming words in the same line. Racism has deep roots and bears bad fruit. And usually there's a sense of meter, a sense of flow that can work better. You don't have to be perfect because what you write will be taken by others and messed with. We are co-creating here. So don't be awesome. Just share a seed. If you want to be awesome, some of you are unstoppably awesome, I know. But we're going to invite you to think of warnings, think of people maybe receiving science and taking action, or volcanoes, or particles that block sunlight, or hunger. And we're going to go to the lyrics generator. Like before, open your devices. I promise you we're about to go to coffee break, or tea break, as you call it in this part of the world. Open the device, and you should be seeing, it's very simple. Daniel, can we advance? It's about performance. It's about warnings. You can enter your display name if you want. Otherwise, you will see it on the top left. It's only to honor you if you said something that is awesome. And then you could write something there. I could write, if we go, we can't return. So, oh, sorry, I have to push the yellow button, submit. So I just thought, should I stay or should I go? Well, if I go, I can't return. That could be true of someone who leaves their home and it's, ransacked by others. You saw how much effort it went? I really came up with it. Is this awesome poetry? I don't think so, but I like it. Get going. Daniel, play some music. Let's give you 5 minutes-ish to write things that come out of your mind about what brings us together. 10 seconds. Be ready to push submit. And we are about to move on. Click submit. And let's move on. Thank you, Daniel, for pausing the music. And now we can advance to the next screen where you know what's going to happen. You're going to be randomly offered someone's verse. You're going to check it out. Try to enjoy it. Try to savor. Try to put yourself in the mind of the person who wrote it. What matters to them? How does it connect to you? Now is the time also when we could look into things that are inappropriate and delete them. I'm pretty sure that we can count on you being nice. And if someone wrote something nasty, it may go through, but we don't appreciate it. But we trust it's not happening, but I have to say it. So Daniel, yes, if you want. By the way, I should have said that these tools that we're using that I find very useful for harvesting ideas, for sharing, etc., they are available for you to make stuff happen. If you are from the Red Cross, we can use them for free. If you're not, talk to Daniel or let us know, and then we'll sort it out. So here's one that someone wrote: sensors humming, see it coming. I happen to like both the rhyme, and because I work with remote sensing, And instruments, I'm going to give a yes, that makes my heartbeat pump, and I want others to see it. And I move on to the next one, and then I say yes or no. Like before, be discerning. Don't like them all, don't dislike them all. Help us bubble up somewhere between 1/3 or 2/3. And you have 5 minutes or less. Lyrics generator summary, like a frog in a pot, we can feel it's getting hot. Let's start to hear, we won't be here. With the warning, we can see the morning, and on and on. Thank you, friends, for all you did. I am going to invite especially participants joining online. If you want, save this page, print it, copy paste, whatever you can do, because those online can, if they want, use these verses as an ingredient for what we do in the afternoon, which I will facilitate. Those here, you can do the same, of course, but if you're going to work with cardboard theater, maybe you want it, maybe you don't. And Daniel, if you want, we can stop the music. Woo. It's been almost 2 hours since we said hello. A lot has happened. You have really squished a lot of juice out of your brains. You have heard some stuff, you have seen some stuff, including performances. And what we're going to do very soon, we're going to have a half-hour-ish break. We're going to restart promptly at 3:25, not 3:30, 3:25. If you're late and you come at 3:30, it's your miss. For those who arrive early, we're going to have another art form for you to enjoy, which is how to communicate the science of warnings through the obvious art form of fitness dance class. It's going to be a video. It's going to be with anyone dancing in person, but the co-creators of that thing happen to be in the room. So at 3:25, I really encourage you to come because it's fun. If you don't want to, you arrive late. And at 3:30 promptly, we explain the task. Some of you will be creating cardboard theater, and maybe you'll dare perform it. Some of you, especially online, will be working with lyrics and creating something, and we'll work on that. Thank you, sir. Awesome. So now comes the part where we're going to co-create. Friends online, bear with me as I explain the task to people in this room, and then I will open my laptop, find a quiet place, and join you on Zoom. It will take me 3 minutes, so thanks for your patience. Friends here, you've seen stuff. You've seen cardboard theater, you've seen plays, you've seen cartoons. They have been making mad amounts of cartoons. This is ridiculous. How many are there here? About 20 cartoons done by them now. Okay? I don't dare. It intimidates. But they are going to facilitate a conversation about what you can do. And let me remind you that there's all this talk about out of the box. Out of this box, you will make art. I don't know what or how, but let's take the out of the box to its awesomest potential. I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't have any idea what you're going to do, but by 4:30 our time is the end of the brainstorming and the beginning of some kind of sharing. If no one has anything to share, we end early. And you could say, we talked about having a volcano that erupts, or you could have a cut of a volcano and do boom. We prefer something that is a bit more the enactment audit of it, the performance of it, rather than the talk about it. Friends, I'll see you in Zoom in 3 minutes. Self-organize, in your hands. And then you pass the microphone to the next one.
Okay, I hope people online can hear me. I'm sure everyone in here can. Anyway, you ready with your volcano eruption? Okay,
You should be able to see.
Observe. Right. A world unprepared. Suddenly, a volcanic eruption. Observe the lava, the pyroclastic flows, the smog. The villagers are dead. The financial system is wrecked. The food stores are destroyed. And now my colleagues will demonstrate the difference that can be made with efforts to warn people and to build resilience into the various systems that rule our planet. The warnings take some time. This is why we have to start early. Resilience enacted, warnings given. Suddenly, a volcano erupts. Observe the lava, watch the pyroclastic flows, see the smoke. The villagers are safe. We don't destroy the financial system. We have some food reserves.
Brilliant. Pass the mic to the next.
Who is next?
And feel free to take the joy with you.
Thank you. I do beg your pardon.
There's only two more cards. Okay, that's good. Actually, one more card for them.
A volcano erupts. It spreads its net of ashes, sulfuric oxide, and acid rain. Under the net, around the world, people are caught, trapped, and die. Other people were warned, prepared, and equipped to escape the net.
So next we're going to invite one. Oh, I see the clapping happening on Zoom as well, by the way, if you haven't noticed. So I think we can pin Bob, who kindly offered to bring his guitar. And maybe Bob, when you unmute, we're in your hands.
Okay. I ran across the room to get the guitar, and this is just something quick based on some of those lyrics. First it's bombastic, then it's pyroclastic. What can we do to make the damage less? Let's make a system of actions that will listen to the warning so we know how to avoid such a mess. Stay alert, stay alive. We should have a system that can help us survive. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! An end-to-end system. Volcanoes are destructive, warnings are instructive. It's better if we have a system to early respond. Volcanic cash, we're going to lose cash. Let's learn to run, recover, and let's do it early on. Stay alert, stay alive. We should have a system that can help us survive. Oh yeah! An end-to-end system. Oh yeah! An end-to-end system that can help us survive.
And I want to highlight that if you didn't recognize the lyrics, it's because we were working on new lyrics that, unlike the ones you created, which were solo, you wrote on your own, push submit, and others saw it. They went into trios, and in the digital platform that Daniel organizes and so on, you write something, you see others writing something else, and you can discuss and converge and recraft your words based on what others are saying. So what Bob just sang is not something that someone wrote, it's verses actually co-crafted by teams. So thanks for channeling that. Thanks to the entire team that crafted that. And they were talking about how to use music to, for example, take it to school children. Imagine if you have 6 months, those children are not going to want to hear about sulfuric acid and stuff. There's one more cartoon team. Here's your microphone.
Actually, yes, we didn't know that. Oh no,
For the online, it needs to be online.
Wow. So we have a game called Volcano Roulette. Who wants to play? It's just a dice. We have a wonderful dice, and our destiny is on the hand of this dice.
Please come and throw the dice.
Hello. So our game is called Volcano Roulette, and who wins? The one who creates the biggest disaster.
Oh,
it's in the bag. So we have the power of knowledge, enlightenment.
Oh yeah, right. No, that's the sun, right?
But it's also metaphorically knowledge. And we also have Mary Poppins, who enacts as the provoker of explosions. So
you win when the sun goes down.
okay.
That's not the song, right?
Okay, so would you like to?
Oh, yes,
Whatever you like.
5.
5. So Mary Poppins.
Oh, well, anyway, so now, okay, do you want to make a volcano eruption? This is what you won.
I won.
Oh, your flowers are rotting in Kenya.
And these are, by the way, this is based on real facts.
Okay.
So your eruption has caused a disrupted transport, and somewhere far away from the volcanoes that have been affected. So their economy. Thank you, well done. You just wiped out the economy of the whole country.
Okay.
Yes, so, but still the sun is rising.
Well done. Well done.
Anyone else who wants to destroy the world?
Because otherwise it's gone forever, right? Yeah, go on. Oh, right. Oh, 3. That is, that must be this one.
Yeah.
Crop failures next month.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit better. A little bit better.
Yes, I think we decided that was going to be the grain belt in North America. Actually. Sorry.
That's all right.
No, stop filming. This is not deliberate. It was just that was the first sort of dramatic thing. It doesn't have to always be in countries that are. Oh, hello. Yes, I'm speaking to the microphone. This could be in rich countries too. So with any luck, the third person will get the yes. Oh. Oh no! Let's hang on. No, almost done. What would you like to read, or shall I read it out for you?
If you could read it for me, that's
yes.
I can't read.
Oh, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your honeymoon has just been cancelled. That romantic, well, won't be anymore. Evening and the foothills of the volcano that's just erupted has entirely destroyed your plans. So we hope, however, that you will have a happy and glorious life with your future partner, if that partner is going to be talking to you after tonight. But apart from that, survive, I think. Yes. So we have one more.
One last one.
And just make it a 6, will you? This is unfortunately, we have a very unstable volcano which is collapsing at the same time.
It happens.
And it does. And in fact, that's because it's initiated global cooling and wholesale planetary destruction. And so this is where the happy music comes on. Dum 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 dum, because you've won.
Just a quick note that there is a different timeline because we wanted to show how things happen in a different time and a different place.
Thank you so much. So adding playfulness and the fact that to win you need to be the most destructive makes people wonder what happens if I win. And that's a mechanic that has been very successful with other game designers. I think we may have one last group. Oh, sorry, thank you. Do we have one more? And are you willing and able to come to the front? There's one microphone for you, which I'm holding, and I can pass it to you when you're ready.
We thought we'd written the only song, but well.
One microphone.
Longer, so
You do what you can with what you have.
thanks.
Sure.
Happy to be here.
With gratitude to Tom for loaning the guitar.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, I don't know if you want to make an introduction. This was a very difficult task for us because completely new subject. Yeah, a serious subject. Yeah, it's a really serious subject, so we just want to do something that is suitably respectful. All the things that you wrote online and here was really inspiring. Trying to put together all the meanings and all the feelings in some way. It's crowdsourced. Yeah. So this is a volcano song, I guess.
I'm trying to remember the tune, that's why.
I think I really didn't want to sing, but I made her, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Sensors are humming, as clouds are coming, a sin rain falls like a tear. We're going down, watch as we drown, living through a storm of we said that by morning we'd sing you a warning, but nothing rhymes with volcano. Nothing rhymes with volcano. Cross will be crossing, failing. That rhymes with wailing. Too happy. Dark, dark days, what will we do? Lava is flying, people are crying. Don't blame us, those lights came from you. What about rhinos? They're not called volcanoes. Rhinos don't rhyme with volcanoes. Exactly. Nothing rhymes with volcanoes. A song is a warning, no way, no. If they ask you to write one, just say no. And they'll ask you because what do they know? You can bring your guitar, but don't play no. Because nothing rhymes with volcano.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there. Thank you everyone online.
So, thank you all. This has been a very, very brave enterprise. And I promised you experimentation and confusion, and I think we got it. This, of course, is just the beginning. There's a lot more that could happen if any of us, any of you wanted to take this further, with or without others in this room and online. I celebrate the courage. I mean, you should have seen this room about 16 minutes ago when people were on their knees with their markers, cutting paper. Like we looked like kindergarten, which is the most effective way of learning. That's when people really learn, when they're passionately co-constructing stuff. So the time is nearly up. If I understand things correctly, it is a few minutes to the scheduled end. So my immense gratitude to all of you, especially those online who didn't know what they were signing up to and they got to do some strange things. Super grateful to the artists. Leah and AJ, you found yourself becoming featured performers, but all of you were performing warnings. Thank you, Nico, for camera and so on. Daniel, thank you so much to you and team for helping do the tech facilitation of the tools that helped us co-construct meaning, understanding, lyrics, visuals, word clouds, and so on. And of course, we want to also express gratitude to our hosts, from the UCL team that deals with warnings. And I think no better way to say thank you than inviting Ham and Eugenia to give them something that they are by now familiar with. So Carina and team, you've been super kind. Over to you. There you go.
I wear this every lecture from now on. Thank you very much.
On the last lecture.
That's amazing. Thank you. Because I didn't keep my original volcano hat, so now I have one. That's brilliant. Thank you. People will think I'm even stranger than I was before. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. Thank you so much to all the artists who've helped make today possible, both online and in person. I won't repeat everybody's names, but Pablo's already done that. But thank you so much for coming from all around the world, both basically here physically and online. So thank you so much. Thanks also to the Warning Research Centre team for getting this all up and running, especially Amanda, who booked the room and got all the refreshments done, to the film team as well. Thank you so much for helping us out today. And thank you all for coming today. It's particularly those in person. It's a difficult time here in the UK right now. And we really appreciate you coming today. And we hope that we've given you a little bit of cheer during this time of national mourning. So thanks for coming. And of course, today's online. We really hope that you guys had a really good time and that you enjoyed the activities too. So we really want to take this forward. We really want to be able to take some of the ideas from today and think about what we can do to build on that and build, have more fun, do more creative exercises like this, and hopefully input this into broader policy decisions and practical actions and so on. So please keep posted on our website for upcoming activities. And I just have one very last request, which is please can you make sure you fill out a consent form either online or in person before you leave, just so that we've got your consent to use some of the amazing footage and images and materials that you guys have created today. So thank you so much. Hope you've all had a real great time. Give yourselves a pat on the back and thanks ever so much.